I'm Jessica Woodward, 34, and tonight my entire life unraveled over mashed potatoes. Mom's bombshell at dinner that my perfect younger sister Emma had secretly funded our family for years wasn't just shocking, it explained the preferential treatment, the hushed conversations, the strange financial decisions. As I stormed out of our weekly family dinner, I had no idea this revelation would lead me to uncover decades of lies, betrayal, and ultimately my path to reclaiming everything I'd lost. Before I dive into how this family dinner turned into a complete nightmare, let me know where you're watching from. If you enjoy family drama with plenty of shocking twists, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Trust me, what happened next in my family might make yours look normal by comparison. Growing up in suburban Chicago, our family portrait seemed flawless to outsiders. My father, Richard Woodward, was a respected accountant who appeared successful in his firm. My mother, Diana, was the quintessential housewife who volunteered at church and hosted neighborhood gatherings, with picture-perfect spreads of food and decoration. Then there was Emma, my younger sister, by 4 years, who excelled at everything she touched, valedictorian championship swimmer, and later a financial consultant whose job details always seemed conveniently vague. And then there was me, Jessica, the perpetual disappointment, the daughter who could never quite measure up. While Emma breezed through life collecting achievements and praise, I struggled with learning disabilities that weren't diagnosed until college. My parents never seemed to have the time or resources for the tutoring I needed, yet Emma's swim meets and academic competitions were non-negotiable family events with money always available for her coaching equipment and travel. "Your sister is gifted," my mother would explain when I questioned the disparity. "We need to nurture her special talents." The favoritism was subtle but persistent. Emma received a car for her 16th birthday, I got driving lessons. Emma's college was fully funded, I worked 3 part-time jobs to cover what minimal scholarships didn't. Even at family gatherings, my accomplishments were footnotes, while Emma's became lengthy speeches. After college, I built a modest but satisfying career in library sciences. I loved my work restoring historical documents, though it didn't pay exceptionally well. Meanwhile, Emma's mysterious financial consulting career skyrocketed. She bought a luxury condo downtown, drove an expensive car, and took exotic vacations. Yet whenever I asked about her work, the answers were oddly evasive. "Just boring spreadsheets and client meetings," she'd say, with a dismissive wave. "Nothing you'd find interesting." Our parents beamed with pride at everything Emma did while my steady career earned only polite acknowledgement. I'd mostly made peace with it, attributing their behavior to Emma simply being more ambitious and successful. I'd created my own life, found fulfilling work, and had a small but loyal circle of friends who appreciated me. Though I remained single after a painful breakup 3 years ago, I was content with my independence. The weekly family dinners were a tradition I maintained more out of obligation than desire. Every Thursday we gathered at our parents' home, the same house where we grew up, for Mom's cooking and family updates. These dinners had become increasingly tense over the past year, with whispered conversations between Emma and our parents that would abruptly stop when I entered the room. I noticed my father looking more strained, my mother more anxious, and Emma more controlling. That particular Thursday seemed no different at first. I arrived bearing the usual bottle of wine, kissed my mother on the cheek, and helped set the table while my father and Emma discussed something in hushed tones in the living room. The tension was palpable, but I'd grown accustomed to feeling like an outsider in my own family. Dinner began normally: enough roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, and my mother's homemade rolls. The conversation stayed superficial: weather, neighborhood gossip, a new restaurant Emma had tried. My father was unusually quiet, pushing food around his plate more than eating it. My mother kept glancing nervously between him and Emma. "Is everything okay?" I finally asked, unable to ignore the strange undercurrent. My mother set down her fork with a deliberate motion. "Actually, Jessica, there's something you should know. Emma immediately tensed. Mom, we discussed this. Now is not the time. She deserves to know, my father interjected, his voice uncharacteristically firm. This has gone on too long. My mother took a deep breath, looked me straight in the eyes, and delivered the words that would change everything. Your sister has always been the provider in this family. The silence that followed felt eternal. I looked from one family member to another, waiting for clarification, for someone to explain what this cryptic statement meant. What are you talking about? I finally managed. Dad's firm failed 15 years ago, Emma said quietly. He was going to lose everything: the house, the cars, your college funds. I started investing when I was 16, with money from swimming competition prizes. I got lucky with some tech stocks, then parlayed that into more investments. When Dad came to me desperate, I stepped in. You were just a teenager, I said, struggling to process this information. I was good with money, Emma shrugged. Better than Dad ever was. I set up shell companies, made it look like his business was still succeeding, and have been supporting this family ever since. The mashed potatoes grew cold as my family's darkest secrets spilled across the dinner table. I sat frozen, my mind racing to recalibrate 15 years of memories against this new reality. So, the accounting firm, I began. A shell, my father admitted, unable to meet my eyes. It exists only on paper. Emma funds everything through it, makes it look legitimate for tax purposes. And everyone knew about this except me. The betrayal cut deep. Not just the lie itself, but that I'd been deliberately kept in the dark while the rest of my family shared this massive secret. We were protecting you, my mother insisted, reaching for my hand, which I quickly pulled away. Emma leaned forward, her expression a mixture of frustration and pity. Jessica, you've always been sensitive. You wouldn't have handled it well. Dad's failure, the family's financial crisis, we needed stability, not emotional outbursts. So instead, you've been living a complete lie, making me believe I was the unsuccessful one. My voice rose despite my efforts to control it. Do you have any idea how it feels to be constantly compared to your brilliant sister, while being kept in the dark about everything? This is exactly why we didn't tell you, Emma sighed, exchanging meaningful glances with our parents. You're making it about yourself instead of understanding what we did to save this family. Something clicked then, a realization so obvious I was ashamed it had taken me so long. The college funds, I whispered. You said Dad was going to lose our college funds, but I still had to work through college while Emma's was fully covered. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. My father studied his plate intently. Emma's education was an investment, my mother finally explained. Her financial acumen was our future. The unfairness of it all hit me like a physical blow. So you drained my college fund but protected hers, let me struggle and work myself to exhaustion while maintaining the fiction that she was just naturally more successful. It wasn't like that, Emma insisted. I've been carrying this family since I was a teenager. Do you have any idea the pressure I've been under? The responsibility you never shared with me. I could have helped. I was shouting now, years of pent-up frustration, finally finding an outlet. Instead, you used this secret to maintain your position as the golden child. My father finally spoke up. Emma saved us when I failed. She stepped up in a way I'll be eternally grateful for. We couldn't risk losing that security. By risk, you mean telling me the truth. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. What exactly did you think I would do? Expose you, ruin the family, or was it just easier to keep treating me as the less capable daughter? Jessica, please, my mother pleaded, tears forming in her eyes. We're still a family. Are we? I looked around at these familiar strangers. Families don't lie to each other for 15 years. Families don't deliberately let one child struggle while elevating another. Emma's composed facade finally cracked. You don't understand what I sacrificed. While you were out living your carefree life, I was carrying the weight of everyone's financial security. Carefree, I laughed bitterly. I worked 3 jobs during college. I lived in a tiny apartment with roommates. While you had your luxury condo, I skipped meals to pay for textbooks while you took vacations in Europe, and you call my life carefree. That's enough, my father interjected firmly. Emma has been our savior, and you will show her the respect she deserves. Those words, the blatant favoritism even now, were the final straw. I see how it is. Nothing's changed. Emma is still perfect, and I'm still the inconvenient other daughter. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, ignoring my mother's pleas to stay and talk. "Where are you going?" Emma called after me. I turned back one last time. "To figure out exactly what other lies you've all been telling." The door slammed behind me with a finality that felt appropriate. In my car, I sat trembling with rage and hurt before finally pulling away from the house. I grew up in a house that I now realized had been funded by my sister while I was treated as an afterthought. That night I couldn't sleep. Questions kept circling in my mind. If Emma had been financially supporting the family since she was a teenager, where did that money really come from? Tech stocks and swimming prizes seemed insufficient to maintain our upper-middle-class lifestyle for 15 years. Something wasn't adding up. The next morning I called in sick to work, something I rarely did. Instead, I sat at my small apartment dining table with my laptop, a notepad, and a determination to uncover the full truth. If my family could lie about something this fundamental for 15 years, what else were they hiding? Armed with a strong cup of coffee and stronger resolve, I began my investigation into my family's finances. As a research librarian, I had skills in information gathering that my family had apparently underestimated. Their mistake was thinking my quiet, bookish nature meant I was naive or easily placated. They'd never understood that my work involved meticulous attention to detail and relentless pursuit of authentic information. I started with public records. My father's accounting firm, Woodward Financial Services, did indeed exist on paper. The business was registered, filed taxes, and maintained a small office downtown that I'd visited occasionally as a child. But as I dug deeper, inconsistencies emerged. The firm reported just enough income to appear legitimate, but had no discernible clients. The company website was basic and hadn't been updated in years. Next, I researched Emma. Her social media portrayed the successful financial consultant, image business conferences, networking events, client dinners. Yet when I cross-referenced the companies she claimed to work with, none listed her as a consultant or employee. Her LinkedIn profile was impressively vague, listing accomplishments without specific clients or projects. The most interesting discovery came from property records. Our family home, which I'd always believed my parents owned outright, had been transferred to an LLC called Woodward Holdings 10 years ago. The LLC's registration led to a series of shell companies, each more obscure than the last. The ownership trail eventually disappeared into offshore accounts that I couldn't access. Emma's downtown condo showed the same pattern, owned by a different LLC that connected back to the same web of companies. Even more surprising, I discovered 3 other properties in Chicago linked to these companies' properties I'd never heard mentioned. By mid-afternoon, my dining table was covered with notes and printouts. The picture emerging was troubling. Emma wasn't just supporting our family. She appeared to be running a sophisticated financial operation that extended far beyond what could be explained by lucky investments or a consulting career. I needed more information, and I knew exactly who might have it. Martin Chen had been my father's assistant for as long as I could remember. A quiet, efficient man who always had candy for Emma and me when we visited Dad's office as children. More importantly, Martin had always shown me kindness when others overlooked me. If anyone knew the truth about my father's business, it would be him. I found his contact information and texted him asking to meet. His response was almost immediate. "I've been expecting this conversation for years. Coffee shop on Clark Street, 4 p.m. The coffee shop was quiet when I arrived. Martin sat in a corner booth, looking older than I remembered, but with the same gentle eyes. He stood to greet me with a hug. "Jessica, it's been too long. I wish I were reaching out under better circumstances," I said as we sat down. "You've learned about your family's situation." It wasn't a question. I nodded. "Last night. But I think I'm still missing most of the story." Martin sighed deeply. "Your father was a good accountant once. Ethical, careful. But about 15 years ago he made some bad investments trying to secure your family's future. He lost almost everything, and Emma stepped in." "Not exactly." Martin glanced around before continuing quietly. "Your sister was always mathematically gifted. By 16, she was already understanding financial systems in ways that shocked even seasoned professionals. But she didn't save the family with legitimate investments." My stomach tightened. "What did she do?" "Started small, manipulating accounting figures to hide your father's losses. Then she discovered she had a talent for finding weaknesses in financial systems. By 18, she was orchestrating sophisticated schemes that, well, the technical term would be fraud." The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. "My sister is a criminal. Your sister is a financial genius who chose to operate outside the law," Martin corrected gently. "She created an elaborate network of shell companies and offshore accounts. Your father's firm became the legitimate front for cleaning the money." "Money laundering?" I whispered, the reality sinking in. "My father and sister are running a money laundering operation." Martin nodded solemnly. "Your mother knows only that Emma fixed the financial problems. Your father knows more but has convinced himself it's all just creative accounting. Emma is the only one who understands the full scope of the operation." "Why are you telling me this? Aren't you implicated too?" "I left 3 years ago when I realized how deep it had become. I've been keeping records as insurance. Your father thinks I'm still loyal, still managing the office part-time, but I've been building evidence in case things go wrong." He slid a USB drive across the table. "Everything is here: account numbers, transaction histories, company structures." I stared at the small device. "Why give this to me?" "Because you deserve to know the truth. And because the operation is getting riskier. Emma's gotten ambitious, expanded too quickly. There are rumors in certain circles. I'm worried about federal investigation. My entire family could go to prison," I realized aloud. "Yes. But there's something else you should know." Martin hesitated. "About 3 years ago there was a significant change in the operation. A new account was established, and money began flowing in unusual patterns." "What changed 3 years ago?" I tried to remember anything significant. "Your boyfriend at the time, Michael, wasn't it? He suddenly ended your relationship." The mention of Michael sent a sharp pain through me. We'd been together for 2 years discussing marriage, when he abruptly broke things off with vague explanations about wanting different things. "What does Michael have to do with this?" Martin's expression was pained. "He was getting too close to you, Jessica. Starting to ask questions about your family's wealth disparity. Emma saw him as a threat and—" He trailed off. "And what I demanded, though I feared I already knew the answer. Emma paid him to leave you. A significant sum transferred through one of her offshore accounts. She disguised it as a business investment for the app he wanted to develop." The betrayal felt like a physical blow. Michael's sudden financial success after our breakup, the app company that seemed to appear from nowhere, his quick engagement to another woman, it all made terrible sense now. My sister destroyed my relationship because she was afraid I'd learn the truth about the family finances. I believe so. The timing of the payment, the specific amount, it all fits. For a moment I couldn't speak. The depth of Emma's manipulation extended beyond family finances into the most personal aspects of my life. She hadn't just lied to me, she had actively worked to keep me isolated and ignorant. "What happens now?" I finally asked. "That depends on you," Martin said. "That drive contains enough evidence to send your sister and father to federal prison for a very long time." It also implicates several business associates. You've never met people who wouldn't take kindly to exposure. Are you saying it's dangerous to use this information? I'm saying proceed with caution. These aren't just family secrets anymore. Martin checked his watch and stood. I need to go. I've stayed in Chicago too long already. You're leaving town tonight? I've said too much already. He squeezed my shoulder gently. Be careful, Jessica. You've always been stronger than they gave you credit for, but you're up against more than just your sister now. As Martin walked away, I sat staring at the USB drive. It held the power to destroy my family, or to finally give me leverage against the sister who had manipulated every aspect of my life. The question was, what did I intend to do with it? The contents of Martin's USB drive were more shocking than I'd anticipated. Emma's operation wasn't just sophisticated, it was massive. Millions of dollars flowed through her network of shell companies and offshore accounts annually. The records showed connections to businesses across Chicago, restaurants, real estate developments, even a charity foundation, all serving as fronts for cleaning money. Most disturbing were the personal files. Emma kept detailed records of family management expenses. These included regular payments to our parents far beyond normal support, effectively buying their complicity and silence. There were surveillance reports on me, my job performance, my friends, my dating life, all documented with clinical precision. And they're confirmed in black and white a payment of $850,000 to Michael 3 days before he broke up with me, labeled J. Containment. I felt physically ill. My sister had been monitoring me like a potential threat, systematically removing anyone who might help me discover the truth. My entire adult life had been subtly manipulated by someone I thought loved me. After 3 days of reviewing the files, avoiding family calls and barely sleeping, I made a decision. I couldn't go to authorities that would destroy my parents and possibly put me in danger from Emma's business associates. But I couldn't continue living in ignorance either. I texted Emma, we need to talk. Alone. My apartment 8 p.m. tonight. Her response was immediate. About the other night, Mom and Dad are worried about you. About everything. 8 p.m. Don't bring anyone else. At exactly 8:00, my doorbell rang. Emma stood there looking immaculate, as always in designer business attire, her expression, a carefully constructed mask of sisterly concern. You've had us worried sick, she said, stepping inside. 3 days without contact after that dramatic exit. Mom's been beside herself. Sit down, Emma. I gestured to my small dining table where my laptop sat open. We're going to have an honest conversation for once. She sighed, taking the seat across from me. If this is about the college funds again, I can explain. This isn't about college funds. I turned my laptop to face her. On the screen was a detailed diagram I'd created of her entire financial network. This is about Woodward Holdings, Lakefront Investments, Blue Harbor LLC, and the other 12 shell companies you're using to launder money. The change in her expression was subtle but unmistakable, a momentary widening of the eyes, a slight tensing of the jaw. Then the mask slipped back into place. I don't know what you think you've found, but you're clearly misinterpreting some basic business structures, she said smoothly. Am I misinterpreting the $850,000 you paid Michael to leave me, or the monthly $15,000 parental maintenance payments, or perhaps the surveillance reports on my job and friends? I kept my voice level despite the anger building inside me. Martin Chen gave me everything, Emma. I know it all. At the mention of Martin's name, her composure finally cracked. That disloyal little, she caught herself recalculating her approach. Jessica, you're in over your head here. You don't understand what you're dealing with. Then explain it to me. Explain why my brilliant sister needed to become a criminal. Explain why you've been treating me like an enemy to be managed rather than family. I'm protecting this family. Emma's voice rose for the first time. Do you think I wanted this life? I was 16 when Dad came to me crying about losing everything. 16 when I realized I was the only one who could save us. So you turned to fraud. There were other options, like what she challenged. Dad was nearly 50 with a ruined reputation. Mom has no job skills beyond hosting dinner parties. We would have lost everything: the house, your college opportunities, our standing in the community. I did what needed to be done. And it just happened to put you in control of everyone and everything. Something dangerous flashed in her eyes. Yes, I took control because someone had to. Dad was too weak, Mom was too oblivious, and she stopped abruptly. And I was what? Too stupid, too emotional. The sister who wasn't worth investing in. Emma ran a hand through her perfect hair, momentarily discomposed. You don't have the temperament for this world, Jessica. You're too honest, too straightforward. You could never make the hard choices I've had to make. Like paying off my boyfriend, like having me watched. Those were hard choices for the family good. Michael was asking questions, getting too curious about our family finances. He was a risk. He loved me. We were talking about marriage. He loved your family connections too, Emma countered coldly. He approached Dad about a job at the firm 2 weeks before I made him the offer. He was looking for a way in. This revelation hit me hard. Had Michael really been using me, or was this just another of Emma's manipulations? I don't believe you, I said, though with less certainty. Believe what you want. I did what was necessary. Emma's eyes fell on my laptop again. So what now? You have Martin's files. Are you planning to turn me in? Send your own sister and father to prison? I haven't decided yet. Emma leaned forward, suddenly intense. Think about what you'd be destroying: Mom and Dad's reputation, their retirement security, your own family name. You've already destroyed our family with lies. I've protected our family, she insisted. And I can protect you too, Jessica. You could join us. With your research skills and attention to detail, you'd be an asset to the operation. I could set you up with your own division, your own funding. You wouldn't have to live in this. She glanced dismissively around my modest apartment situation anymore. The offer stunned me. After years of being sidelined, Emma was finally offering me a place at the table if I was willing to join her criminal enterprise. You want me to become a criminal too? That's your solution. I want you to join the family business, she corrected. To finally be an equal participant rather than a bystander. Something in her wording struck me. Is that how you've justified this to yourself? By calling crime a family business, call it what you want. It's lucrative, challenging, and secure as long as we're careful. She pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, then showed me the screen. I just transferred $250,000 to your account. Consider it a signing bonus and back payment for the college fund situation. I stared at the confirmation screen in disbelief. You think you can just buy me? I think I can give you what you've always wanted: recognition, security, and a chance to prove yourself. She put her phone away. The money is yours regardless. Think about the rest of the offer. Standing up, she smoothed her immaculate clothes. Take a few days to process everything. But Jessica, be very careful about your next move. Martin gave you information that could harm a lot of people beyond just our family. People who wouldn't hesitate to protect their interests. The thinly veiled threat hung in the air between us. Are you threatening me now, Emma? Your own sister. I'm warning you because I care about you. Her expression softened slightly. Despite what you might think, I've always tried to protect you from Dad's failure, from unsuitable relationships, from threats you didn't even know existed. I just want you to understand what you're dealing with before you make a decision you can't unmake. As she headed for the door, she turned back one last time. Family dinner is still on for Thursday. Mom would love to see you there. She thinks this is just about the college funds, by the way. She has no idea about the rest, and it would crush her to find out. After she left, I sat in the sudden silence of my apartment, feeling the weight of impossible choices. Check my bank account and sure enough, $250,000 had appeared, more money than I'd ever had at once. Blood money. Silence money. A down payment on my complicity. I'm at a crossroads. Do I expose everything and risk destroying my family and possibly putting myself in danger, accept Emma's offer, and become part of the criminal enterprise I despise? Or is there a third option I haven't seen yet? You know what, guys? I need a moment to breathe after reliving this part of my story. It's still so fresh even now. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment letting me know what you would do in this situation. Would you take the money and run, confront your family, or something else entirely? This turning point changed everything for me, and I'm curious how you would have handled it. Don't forget to like this video if you're invested in finding out my decision, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas that will make your jaw drop. After Emma left, I spent hours staring at my bank account balance. $250,000. Sat there like a ticking bomb, tempting and terrifying simultaneously. It represented freedom from my financial struggles, but at the cost of my integrity. I couldn't sleep that night, weighing options that all seemed impossible. By morning I'd made my decision. This wasn't just about me anymore. Emma's operation had grown too large, involved too many people. If federal investigators were already circling as Martin suggested, it was only a matter of time before everything collapsed. When that happened, my parents would be left unprotected, possibly facing charges themselves. I needed more information before I could act. Most crucially, I needed to know if my father was a willing participant or Emma's puppet. The family dinner that Thursday would be my opportunity to find out. I spent the next 2 days preparing. First, I transferred Emma's gift to a separate account where it couldn't be easily retracted. Not because I intended to keep it, but because it could serve as evidence if needed. Next, I backed up Martin's files to multiple secure locations. Finally, I did something Emma clearly never expected. I researched federal whistleblower protections for financial crimes. Thursday arrived with a knot of anxiety in my stomach. I dressed carefully in a recording-friendly outfit, a loose blouse with a hidden pocket, where a small digital recorder Saturday. While I hated the idea of secretly recording my family, I needed evidence of their knowledge and involvement that couldn't be disputed later. When I arrived at my parents' house, the atmosphere was tense despite their attempts at normalcy. My mother hugged me too tightly, my father's smile seemed forced, and Emma watched me with calculating eyes. "Jessica, we're so glad you came," my mother said, ushering me inside. "I made your favorite pot roast." "Thanks, Mom." I helped set the table, as I always did, searching for an opportunity to speak with my father alone. It came sooner than expected. Emma received a phone call and stepped onto the back patio to take it, while my mother went upstairs to fetch a family photo album she suddenly wanted to show me. I found my father in his study, staring out the window. "Dad, can we talk?" He turned, looking older and more tired than I'd ever seen him. "About the other night, Jessica, you have to understand. I know everything," I interrupted, quietly closing the door behind me. "Not just what Emma told us at dinner. Everything. The shell companies, the money laundering, all of it." His face paled. "Who told you these things?" Martin Chen gave me files. Emma confirmed it all. I stepped closer. "Dad, how could you let this happen? How could you let your teenage daughter become a criminal to fix your mistakes?" He sank into his desk chair, deflated. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. In the beginning, it was just Emma helping with some creative accounting to keep us afloat until I could recover from my losses. But she was so good at it, found ways to generate income I never imagined possible. Illegal ways," I emphasized. By the time I realized how far it had gone, we were in too deep. His voice dropped to a whisper. "She was 18 when she set up the first offshore account. 20 when she established the shell company network. I told myself she was just being resourceful, using legal loopholes. But you knew better." He nodded slowly. About 5 years ago I tried to shut it down, told her we had enough money and needed to go legitimate. That's when she showed me the books, how deeply intertwined everything had become, how exposed we all were if anything unraveled. So she threatened you with exposure, your own daughter, not threatened, explained. He looked up, his eyes pleading for understanding. She said she'd created this system to protect us, but it had grown beyond what any of us could dismantle safely. The only path forward was deeper in. And Mom, how much does she know? Almost nothing. She believes Emma made some smart investments that saved us from bankruptcy. She doesn't ask questions about where the money comes from now. Willful ignorance, I said, unable to keep the judgment from my voice. Protection, he countered. What good would it do for her to know Emma and I made sure she's insulated from any legal exposure? The recorder captured every word as I asked the crucial question. Are you being coerced, Dad? Is Emma forcing you to participate? He laughed bitterly. It's not that simple. Emma controls everything now: the house, the cars, our retirement accounts, your mother's medical care, my heart medication. If Emma decided to cut us off, he left the sentence unfinished. So, you're trapped? We all are in different ways. He looked at me intently. Emma told me she offered to bring you in. That she gave you money. She did, and I haven't decided yet. He nodded slowly. Jessica, whatever you decide, be careful. Emma doesn't. The door opened and Emma stood there, her expression pleasant but her eyes sharp. Dinner's ready, Mom's looking for you both. Throughout dinner I observed my family with new eyes. My mother oblivious and protected from harsh realities. My father trapped in a prison of his own making, now controlled by the daughter he had failed. And Emma, who had transformed from golden child to puppet master, wielding power with the confidence of someone who believed themselves untouchable. The conversation remained superficial, carefully avoiding any mention of finances or the revelations from the previous week. My mother chatted about neighborhood gossip, my father nodded along, and Emma occasionally steered topics away from anything potentially revealing. After dinner, as we moved to the living room for coffee, I made my move. I've been thinking about your offer, Emma. I kept my voice casual. Her attention sharpened immediately. Have you? I have some questions first. About the extent of the operation. This isn't the time or place, she said with a meaningful glance toward our mother. Mom deserves to know what she's part of, I countered. My mother looked between us, confusion evident. Know what, dear's nothing, Mom, Emma said firmly. Jessica and I have some business matters to discuss privately. Actually, it concerns all of us. I set my coffee cup down deliberately. I've spent the past week learning about our real family business. The shell companies, the money laundering, the offshore accounts. My mother's expression went from confused to shocked. What are you talking about, Jessica? My father warned. No more secrets, I said firmly. Emma hasn't just been supporting the family. She's been running a criminal enterprise with Dad as the frontman. Everything, this house, your lifestyle, Dad's accounting firm, it's all built on fraud. My mother turned to my father, her face pale. Richard, what is she saying? Before he could answer, Emma intervened, her voice icily controlled. Jessica is exaggerating a situation she barely understands. Yes, we've used some aggressive tax strategies and investment vehicles, but nothing criminal. Show her the files, Emma, I challenged. Show Mom exactly how you've been generating millions while keeping her in the dark. That's enough. Emma stood abruptly. Mom, Dad, I need to speak with Jessica alone. No one's going anywhere until we get the full truth, I insisted, standing my ground. What followed was 2 hours of painful revelations. My mother cried as she learned the extent of her husband's financial failure and her daughter's criminal solution. My father admitted his complicity and dependency. Emma alternated between justifying her actions as necessary for family survival and threatening consequences if I exposed everything to authorities. You'll destroy this entire family, Emma hissed when our mother left the room to compose herself. Is that what you want? I want the truth, I replied steadily. And I want this to stop before it's too late. It's already too late, my father said, his voice hollow. Has been for years. When my mother returned, her eyes red but her spine straight, she surprised us all with her clarity. I may not understand all the financial details, but I understand enough. This stops now. We are not criminals. Emma laughed bitterly. It's not that simple, Mom. We can't just walk away. We can and we will, my mother insisted. Whatever consequences come, we'll face them as a family honestly for once. For the first time I saw uncertainty in Emma's expression. She'd never anticipated our mother taking such a firm stance. The week following our explosive family dinner was chaos. Emma disappeared, not answering calls or texts. My father fell into a depression, barely leaving his bedroom. My mother surprisingly showed unexpected strength, insisting we consult a lawyer specializing in financial crimes. Attorney Sofia Mendez listened to our situation without judgment, reviewing the files I'd received from Martin. Her assessment was blunt, but not without hope. This is serious money laundering, tax evasion, possibly wire fraud. Your sister has created an impressive but highly illegal financial structure, she explained. However, there are options. The whistleblower protections could apply, especially if you cooperate fully before any formal investigation begins. Will my parents face charges? I asked the question that had been keeping me awake. It's possible, but we can make a strong case that your father was coerced and your mother was uninformed. With proper cooperation, we might negotiate immunity or reduce charges. And Emma Sophia's expression turned grave. Your sister is the architect of this operation. She will face significant consequences. The weight of this reality settled over us. Despite everything, Emma was still my sister. The thought of her in prison was painful, yet the alternative, continuing to participate in her criminal enterprise, was unthinkable. There's something else you should know, Sophia added. Based on these records, there are signs that federal investigators may already be looking into several businesses connected to your sister's network. If that's true, the window for voluntary disclosure is closing fast. We had no choice but to act quickly. With Sophia's guidance, we prepared to approach the authorities. The plan was carefully constructed. I would serve as the primary whistleblower with my parents as cooperative witnesses. We would provide complete documentation of the operation in exchange for consideration in charging decisions. The night before our scheduled meeting with federal prosecutors, there was a knock at my apartment door. I opened it to find Emma looking uncharacteristically disheveled. May I come in? She asked, her voice lacking its usual confidence. I stepped aside warily, noting she carried only a small handbag, no laptop, no files. I know what you're planning to do tomorrow, she said, sitting on my couch without invitation. Martin warned me. Martin told you? I was shocked. He'd seemed so committed to exposing the truth. Martin has always played both sides, Emma explained tiredly. He gives you enough information to feel empowered, tells me enough to stay ahead. It's how he's protected himself all these years. This revelation stung, though it explained why Martin had fled town so quickly. So, you've come to stop me? I asked, remaining standing. Threaten me again? No. She sighed deeply. I've come to tell you it's over. I've dismantled as much as I could in the past week, closed accounts, transferred assets, erased digital trails. By tomorrow, half the evidence in your files will lead to dead ends. Why would you do that? To protect Mom and Dad. She looked up and I was startled to see tears in her eyes. And you. I never wanted any of you involved in this. You involved us the moment you started this operation in our family's name. I know that now. She wiped her eyes with an uncharacteristic lack of composure. Jessica, I'm leaving the country tonight. I've set up new identities, new accounts. I can disappear before the authorities close in. The realization of what she was saying hit me. You're running away, leaving us to deal with the aftermath. I'm taking the target off this family, she corrected. With me gone and the operation dismantled, the focus of any investigation will shift. The prosecutors will want me, not Mom and Dad. This doesn't fix anything. Emma running doesn't make it right. Nothing can make it right. She snapped, a flash of her old intensity returning. But I can make sure you all don't pay for my crimes. She reached into her bag and pulled out a thick envelope. This contained signed confessions, detailing how I manipulated Dad into participating, how I kept Mom in the dark, how I threatened and controlled everyone. It's all written to maximize their legal protection. I stared at the envelope but didn't take it. Why should I believe this isn't another manipulation? Because for once I'm not asking for anything in return. She placed the envelope on my coffee table. Use it or burn it. That's your choice now. She stood to leave, pausing at the door. I transferred everything I could legally put in your name to an account only you can access. It's clean money earnings from legitimate investments I made separate from the main operation. Enough for Mom and Dad to live comfortably and for you to have the opportunities you deserved. I don't want your money. It's not mine anymore. It's restitution. For a moment, vulnerability showed through her carefully maintained facade. I know an apology means nothing at this point, but I am sorry, Jessica. Not for trying to save our family, but for how I went about it. For how I treated you. Before I could respond, she added, one last thing. Michael really did take money to leave you, but not because he was asking questions. Because I convinced him you were in danger from my business associates and that leaving would protect you. He loved you enough to walk away thinking he was keeping you safe. This final revelation left me speechless. Emma had manipulated even the purest thing in my life, twisting love into another tool for control. Goodbye, Jessica, she said softly. Take care of them for me. And then she was gone. The next morning I sat with my parents and Attorney Mendez, the envelope from Emma on the table between us. We'd read its contents, detailed confessions, account information, evidence that might help my parents avoid the worst legal consequences. This changes our strategy, Sophia advised. With these confessions and your sister apparently fled, we can position your parents as victims rather than participants. My father shook his head slowly. I can't let Emma take all the blame. I was weak, but I knew what was happening. We all bear responsibility, my mother agreed. We accepted the benefits while ignoring where they came from. Their honesty coming so late but so sincerely brought tears to my eyes. We need to make this right, I said. All of us together. The meeting with federal prosecutors was grueling but productive. We provided everything: Martin's files, Emma's confessions, my recordings, and our full cooperation. The prosecutors were particularly interested in Emma's business associates, people higher up the criminal chain who had been using her financial skills. As Sophia had predicted, Emma's disappearance shifted the focus of the investigation. My parents faced charges but with reduced severity due to their cooperation. I received whistleblower protection. The legitimate money Emma had left us went mostly to legal fees and restitution. The months that followed were difficult. My parents sold their house and most possessions to help satisfy the financial penalties. They moved into a small apartment, adjusting to a much simpler lifestyle. My father, forbidden from working in finance, again found unexpected satisfaction, volunteering at a community center, teaching basic budgeting to low-income families. My mother started a small home-based catering business using skills she'd previously employed only for social status. I stayed close, supporting them through the legal proceedings and emotional aftermath. In the process, we developed a new relationship based on honesty and mutual respect, rather than secrets and manipulation. As for Emma, international authorities continued searching, but she had disappeared completely. Occasionally, I'd receive an unmarked postcard from various countries, a small reminder that she was still out there watching from a distance. One year after everything unraveled, I received a package containing a key and an address. I found it led to a storage unit containing boxes of family photos Emma had saved from our childhood home. Before it was sold, the only purely sentimental gesture I'd ever seen from her. Hidden among the photos was a note: "Some truths are worth the cost. You were always the strongest of us all." It's been 3 years since our family's criminal empire collapsed. My parents have completed their community service and probation, rebuilding their lives with a humility and authenticity I never saw in them before. Dad's volunteer work has expanded into a non-profit financial literacy program. Mom's catering business has a waiting list of clients who appreciate her newfound warmth and sincerity more than her previous social polish. As for me, I've found unexpected purpose. Working with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division as a civilian consultant, I now help identify and untangle complex fraud schemes, similar to what my sister created. My research skills and first-hand experience make me uniquely qualified for this work. I've even started dating again, slowly, cautiously, but with hope. Emma remains a ghost. The international warrants for her arrest are still active, but the trail went cold years ago. Sometimes I think I see her in a crowd, or feel her presence nearby, but it's likely just the lingering connection between sisters who shared so much, and yet knew so little about each other. The most important lesson I've learned through all this is that true family isn't built on secrets, control, or financial security. It's built on honesty, mutual respect, and the courage to face difficult truths together. We lost everything we thought mattered: status, wealth, appearances, but gained something far more valuable: authenticity. The irony doesn't escape me. My sister, who believed she was protecting our family through lies and manipulation, ultimately destroyed the facade we'd been living behind. And in doing so, she gave us the chance to become a real family at last. Some days I hate her for what she did to us. Other days I miss her with an ache that feels physical. Most days, I just hope that wherever she is, she's found some measure of peace, and perhaps the honesty that eluded her here. As I close this chapter of my life, I can't help but wonder what family secrets are hiding behind the perfect dinners and polished social media posts of the people around you. What would you do if everything you believed about your family suddenly unraveled over mashed potatoes? If you've enjoyed this true story of family deception and redemption, please hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you don't miss my next video. Drop a comment letting me know if you've ever discovered a family secret that changed everything. I read all your comments. Like and share if this resonated with you. And remember that sometimes the most important family values aren't the ones we display to the world, but the truths we're brave enough to face together. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I'll see you in the next video.